Wired to Build. The relentless life of creators who can't sit still. For the restless, the relentless, and the ones who are never done. By Steph Wynn. Introduction. This book is going to speak straight to the hearts of people like you, builders, dreamers, pivoters, survivors, who never fit the mold and stop trying to. There are people in this world who wake up thinking about peace, balance, routine, simplicity. And then there are people like us. We wake up thinking about the next idea, the unfinished thing, the what if that showed up in a dream or while brushing our teeth. We pivot mid task. We draft while doing dishes. We run 6 open tabs in our brains before the coffee's even ready. Not because we're scattered, because we're wired to build. We're the people who launch a course while still editing a film, who outline a book while helping someone grieve, who sit in the middle of real life, love, loss, burnout, bills, still trying to finish a script or design a landing page. Not because it's a hobby, not because we're bored, but because something inside us won't let us sit still until we've made a mark, shipped the thing, closed the loop, or at the very least, tried. And yet, most of us don't feel seen. People tell us to slow down, be present, get some rest. But how do you rest when your mind is a blueprint factory that never shuts off? How do you just chill when you've survived too much and dreamed too big? This book isn't for people who crave quiet. It's for the ones who crave clarity in their chaos. It's a letter to the tribe of restless creators, silent builders, and idea survivors. If you're someone who thinks 5 moves ahead while making dinner, if you're someone who's tried a dozen things but still feels like your big hit is coming, if you're someone who keeps going because sitting still isn't an option, then this book is for you. Because you're not distracted, you're not broken, you're not late. You're just wired to build. Chapter 1. Wired to Build. There are 2 kinds of people in this world: those who can relax and those who can't. It's not because we don't want to, it's because our minds won't stop. There's always one more idea, one more unfinished thing, one more what if we can't shake. That's what it means to be wired to build. I've been like this my whole life. At 61, I'm still writing books, building websites, courses, film scripts, and business platforms. Not because I want to impress anyone, but because I've never had the luxury of standing still. Standing still never felt safe. Stillness is where other people get comfortable. Me, I get left behind if I stop moving. I've made a living doing what others didn't expect. I built a career out of Craigslist ads. Craigslist, no Facebook ad budget, no corporate job offer, no Ivy League network. I found nearly every single one of my bookkeeping clients and some of my wildest creative collaborators through a $0 post on a beat up old website that most people overlook. But I didn't overlook it. I used it. I found my lane. I kept going. Because that's what we do. We find a gap. We move fast. We build what we can. And even when it earns us money, we still don't feel safe. Because here's the truth no one talks about. Even when you're doing well, if you've had to build everything yourself, you're always bracing for it to fall apart. I've lived that truth. I left a life in Los Angeles and moved to the desert. Downsized, reset, shared a home with my spouse, only to watch the family dynamics shift under my feet. I saw in real time how quickly your situation can turn, how a house you live in can still never feel like home. I know what it feels like to see the writing on the wall, even when the people you love won't admit it. So I did what I've always done. I pivoted, launched websites, started new ventures, wrote books, filmed movies on green screens and tight budgets, sketched scripts and built platforms while watching the people around me coast on comfort. I never had comfort. What I had was momentum. And when you're wired to build, that's all you need. Chapter 2. Always pivoting. People love to say, just stick with one thing. That's great advice for people whose lives feel stable. For the rest of us, pivoting is survival. They don't see the full picture. They don't know what it's like to have a client base vanish, a home shift out from under you, or a partner's family slowly edge you out of the frame. When you're wired to build, pivoting isn't quitting, it's listening. It's listening to the gut feeling that says, this isn't going to last, or this ain't it anymore. And instead of waiting to be kicked off the ride, you start looking for the next exit. I've done this more times than I can count. I've gone from tax prep to tech teaching, from screenplay to AI course, from filming a future set movie, I Hate My Neighbor, set in 2030 back in 2015 on a shoestring budget, to writing The Fall of Humanity, Cyrus the Rogue AI, a script that hit harder after the rise of ChatGPT than when I first drafted it. That's not a failure. That's a pattern recognition skill. Some people stay with one thing because they don't know what else to do. We pivot because we see the next wave before it breaks. I saw Broker of Opportunity before it had a name. I knew there'd be a world where companies had tech, robots, drones, AI, but no salespeople who knew how to sell it. And I knew there were reps, hustlers, and people hungry to earn, but disconnected from the tools of the future. I saw the gap, and gaps are where the builders live. So I started building the bridge, a platform to connect them, not because it was easy, but because it was next. And that's the difference. We don't pivot because we're unfocused. We pivot because we're future focused. We can't stop adjusting, planning, trying, even if we don't have investors or co founders or fancy launch parties. We move with the belief that something we finish will hit, and not just for money, but for validation, legacy, peace. I've had scripts sit in folders for years, footage on drives no one's seen, but I don't delete any of it. Because every time I pivot, I bring that history with me, and I might finish one of those old pieces when the timing is finally right. One of those scripts might just outlive me. One of them might finally go viral when the world is ready. And even if none of them do, I know I'll have something else in the works. That's the thing about people like us. We pivot, yes, but we never stop building. Chapter 3, not present, always processing. There's a difference between being absent and being elsewhere. People don't get that. They say, you're always on your computer. You're never really here. Can you just turn your brain off? No, I can't. And if you're like me, you've spent years trying to explain that you're not ignoring people, you're just processing at full volume inside your own head. You might be in a room with someone you love, but part of you is thinking about the next income stream, mapping how to finish that script you started in 2015, replaying a conversation from last week that didn't sit right, running numbers on a new platform that could actually pay your bills, wondering if your living situation is as stable as everyone keeps pretending it is, remembering a line of dialogue for a film that hasn't even been shot yet. It's not that we're trying to disconnect, it's that we don't get to rest, even when we're still. Our brains are full of what's next because our lives have required it. For me, being present has always been a battle. I can sit on the couch, but I'm thinking about how to pitch the fall of humanity, Cyrus the rogue AI, to a platform that might not exist yet. I can have a meal with someone I love and still be mentally sorting through all the angles of what happens to this house if my partner's sister comes back to California for good. It's not drama. It's mental real estate planning because nobody else seems to be thinking 5 steps ahead but me. That's what it's like when you're wired to build. You're always scanning for the storm while everyone else is still enjoying the sun. And it's not because you're negative, it's because you've lived through a storm before and you know how fast things can shift from peaceful to gone. When my spouse and I moved into her mom's home, it seemed like a smart, stable play. But I've watched the slow motion of family dynamics unfold. The subtle shifts, the gestures that tell you, without telling you, that your place here isn't permanent. And so I build, I create, I imagine other exits, not because I'm planning to run, but because I refuse to be caught unprepared. So yeah, I'm not always present the way people want, but I'm deeply awake to everything, to everyone. to every risk and every potential opportunity. That's a different kind of presence. One that can be exhausting, sure, but also one that saves your ass when everyone else is still pretending nothing's changed. People like us, the builders, the planners, the creators, we don't live in just one moment at a time. We live in this moment, plus the last one, plus the five possible outcomes of the next one. It's not chaos, it's capacity. It's being mentally full of futures. Sometimes we just need a break from being treated like we're broken. Because the truth is, if I were normal, if I were present in the way others wanted, none of what I've built would exist. No films, no books, no clients, no courses, no business ideas, no future bets, no what ifs that turned into what now. So if you're someone who's been called distracted, unfocused, or distant, don't take it personally. Take it as a sign that you're seeing more than most people can handle. You're carrying possibilities they can't imagine. And sometimes the weight of that future means you can't sit and sip wine like everything's fine. Because you're not sipping, you're mapping. You're not absent. You're just building something in your head that hasn't arrived yet in the world. And when it does, they'll all wonder how you pulled it off. Chapter 4. Unfinished doesn't mean failure. They only see what you finished. They don't see what you started. They don't see the hard drives full of clips, the outlines in Google Docs that still make your heart race, the domain names you bought in 2012 because you just knew, the world was going that way. They don't see the scripts that weren't submitted, the pitch decks that were never emailed, the projects that were shelved because the rent was due and the energy was gone. And because they don't see it, they assume you didn't follow through. They assume something was wrong with you, with the work, with your discipline. But here's the truth. Unfinished doesn't mean you failed. Unfinished means you were ahead of schedule. I shot I Hate My Neighbor in 2015 to 2017, set in the year 2030. A sci-fi vision wrapped in satire, politics, truth, filmed on green screens, pieced together with grit, passion, and a budget held together by prayers and pivoting. It's 2025 now, and guess what? Much of what I wrote is happening. The world's finally catching up to what I saw then. It's not that I didn't finish. It's that time hasn't finished catching up to me. People like us have folders. We have binders. We have scraps of paper that could launch empires. I've got Script the Fall of Humanity, Cyrus the Rogue AI, a story that felt too early when I first wrote it. But now, with AI moving into every crevice of life, with people asking if sentient code is just a few versions away, that script is right on time. I'm updating it now, not because I gave up on it, but because I know it's ready to hit. That's the thing about being wired to build. You don't always finish by the world's deadline. You finish by the truce. Some projects aren't meant to wrap in 30 days. Some films, some books, some platforms take years to mature. Hell, the Cookie Project has 25 years of footage. That's not an unfinished idea. That's a living archive of transformation. And when the right platform or buyer sees it, it won't be old, it'll be timeless. Look, some of your ideas won't go anywhere. Not everything will hit. Some projects are practice. Some are grief rituals. Some are purely medicine for you. But just because something isn't monetized doesn't mean it didn't matter. Just because something isn't published doesn't mean it wasn't powerful. Just because it's not done doesn't mean it's dead. You don't owe the world closure. You owe yourself permission to keep building at the speed of your soul. Because when the world finally catches up, and it always does, you'll be ready. Not because you rushed, but because you never stopped. You didn't quit. You paused. You adapted. You evolved. You stayed in motion. Unfinished? Nah, you're just not done yet. Chapter 5. The one book, the one hit. Every creator has that one. That one story you keep circling back to. That one book you feel in your body when you're alone and still. That one script that's always just one more revision away. That one project that you might never finish, but still believe could change everything if it ever saw the light of day. For me, it's the book I haven't fully written yet. the one I know will hit. I've written a lot, I've self published, I've launched scripts, I've taught, I've filmed, I've edited. But there's one story that hasn't dropped yet, and I know deep down when I finally finish it, it won't just land, it'll ripple. Maybe it's the one that speaks for all the women over 40 who aren't done yet. Maybe it's the one that shows the receipts for my life, the reinventions, the late pivots, the art, the heartbreak, the business, the grind, the hope that doesn't die even when the body's tired. Maybe it's wired to build. Because this one, this is different. This is me. And I know in the marrow of my bones that someone is waiting to read this. We all have our one. The problem is, life keeps getting in the way. Money gets in the way. Family expectations get in the way. Burnout gets in the way. Fear whispers, what if no one reads it? What if you're too late? What if it's not good enough? But here's the truth I've learned. If something keeps calling to you across years, across projects, across personal storms, it's not a hobby. It's your unfinished purpose. And you don't have to finish it in a burst. You just have to stop running from it. I've started and paused so many projects that I've lost count. But that one, I never delete it. I never throw it out. I never let anyone talk me out of it. Because some ideas aren't optional, they're assignments. You don't just want to make it happen, you're wired to. Maybe for you, it's a memoir. Maybe it's your first YouTube film. Maybe it's a coaching program, a talk, a script, a documentary, a music project, a painting, a movement, a whole damn life pivot. Whatever it is, if you feel it in your gut, if it hasn't shut up for a decade, if it keeps poking at your brain when you're in the shower, walking, cooking, or crying, then it's not a fantasy. It's a call, and it only gets louder when you ignore it. So, what do you do with that one book? You do what you've always done. You show up messy, scrappy, and loud. You stop trying to make it perfect. You stop waiting for the world to ask for it. You build it anyway, even if it's page by page, voice note by voice note, journal by journal, draft by draft. You just don't let it die in the dark. Because that one project, that's the one that frees you. And once it's out in the world, even if just 100 people read it, you'll finally feel that rare and quiet thing. I said what I came to say. Chapter 6: When Home Isn't Yours. There's a different kind of stress that comes when the roof over your head isn't yours. You might be safe, you might be fed, you might even be loved. But if you don't have the final say, if you can be replaced, erased, or edged out when someone else makes a decision, then it's not really home. It's a holding pattern. And when you're wired to build, that feeling gnaws at you because you don't want to decorate a life you can be evicted from. You don't want to get too comfortable in someone else's kingdom. You want your own. When I moved into my spouse's family home, it made sense financially, logistically, emotionally. I thought it was a season of partnership, of sharing space and sharing life. But over time, things shift. Little things, unspoken alliances, family dynamics, the kind of side eye energy that tells you without saying a word, you're welcome, but this will never be yours. I saw the writing on the wall, saw the sister re enter the frame, saw the husband, the new circumstances, the open room, the old expectations. I saw how I become the current, not the constant, and that's the kind of truth that makes it hard to sleep. It's not about the square footage. It's about not having a key to your own future. So I did what I've always done when I felt the walls closing in. I started building a new exit, a new platform, a new project, a new way to earn, to speak, to stand. Not because I want to leave, but because I refuse to be left without a plan. When home isn't yours, you learn how to make your mind your shelter. You learn how to find peace in motion. You learn how to sleep with one eye open and still wake up full of ideas. And yeah, that kind of existence takes a toll, but it also sharpens you. It gives you a kind of clarity most people never earn. I don't need to own this house. I just need to own myself, my ideas, my skills, my income, my voice. My next move, that's the real home. The one no one can sell out from under you. The one that moves with you. Look, I'm not bitter. I'm just honest. You can't build peace where there's always an asterisk on your name. So I stopped trying to blend in and started doubling down on what I could control. I built. Broker of opportunity, updated scripts, course ideas, a book that might just hit like a meteor. Because even if I don't have keys to this house forever, I'll have the blueprint for my future printed in my own damn name. You're never really home until you know you can stay or leave on your own terms. Until then, you don't nest, you navigate. And that's what this chapter is. It's not a pity party, it's a power shift. If you're living in borrowed space, physical, emotional, financial, let this be your reminder. You don't have to fight for a seat at someone else's table when you're building your own. Chapter 7, Closing the Loops. Here's what they don't tell you about being creative, driven, wired to build. You'll start more things than you'll ever finish. And if you're not careful, that pile of unfinished brilliance will start to feel like evidence of failure. But it's not. It's evidence of capacity. You tried. You risked. You made. And now you've got open loops, projects, stories, domains, drafts, dreams, all waiting to either be completed or released. And that's what this chapter is about, the power of finishing or freeing the things that keep tugging at your spirit. I've had loops running for decades. I've had a documentary with 25 years of footage. The Cookie Project before Bruce, Cato, and Jenner, there was Cookie. A film shot in 2015 to 2017. I Hate My Neighbor still sitting in drive folders, unfinished but powerful. A script Cyrus, the rogue AI that's somehow more relevant now than when I first wrote it. A book idea that won't shut up, even though I'm busy building other things. Wired to build. Hello. A platform broker of opportunity that I know can earn if I get it out the door fast and clean. I used to think I had to finish everything to prove I wasn't all talk. But now I know better. I don't need to finish everything. I just need to finish what still has fire. That's the builder's burden and the builder's blessing. You've probably got notebooks with half a business plan. You've got an outline for a course you never filmed, a trailer idea, a podcast name, a domain, a digital product you outlined in 2020 and forgot about until last week. Let me say this clearly. Not every idea deserves a finished form, but the ones that still visit you in the quiet, those are the ones you owe your future. So what do we do? Step 1, take inventory, list them, all of them, the films, the scripts, the stories, the websites, the side hustles. Get it out of your head and into plain sight. Step 2, check for fire. Which of them still makes your pulse move? Which one won't leave you alone? That's the loop that wants closure. Step 3, choose the format. It doesn't have to be huge. A short film instead of a feature. A 60-page book instead of 300. A one-page offer instead of a full course. A video pitch instead of a spec script. Done is better than dusty. Step 4, ship it. Upload it. Publish it. List it. Post it. Email it. Tell someone. Put it out there in some form. Let it breathe. Let it work. Step 5, bless and release. If something no longer has energy, archive it. Thank it. Let it go. Not every project is a forever thing. Some were just bridges to who you are now. I'm in this loop closing phase right now. You reading these chapters? That's me closing the loop on the idea that I'd write a book that mattered, a book that hit. I don't need permission. I don't need a publisher. I don't need a guarantee. I just need to honor the assignment. So, what loops are ready to close? Because you already know you're not building new things to distract yourself. You're building to finally own the legacy you've been stacking piece by piece. And the only way out of this mental clutter is through one project at a time, one release at a time, one loop closed at a time. Chapter 8, Legacy by Fire. Some people wind down. They soften, they settle, they retire into stillness, but not you. You don't coast, you refine. You burn hotter, cleaner, with intention. Because when you've lived the life we've lived, the kind where you've had to pivot out of fear, sell out of necessity, create with no net, you don't dream of retirement. You dream of impact. Your legacy won't be a plaque or pension. It'll be the trail of sparks you left behind. Scripts that predicted the future before the world caught up. Courses that opened eyes in people who didn't even know they needed you. A film shot a decade early, but still waiting to erupt. Clients who trusted you off Craigslist and left knowing you were the real deal. Projects that never got fully finished, but still changed you. Ideas that lit torches in others just by existing. You won't be remembered for playing it safe. You'll be remembered for showing up raw, for staying in the ring, for never quitting, even when the world stopped clapping. Legacy by fire isn't about going out in a blaze. It's about burning consistently, intentionally, for as long as you're breathing. It's not some massive final act. It's the daily proof that you were here, you saw what others didn't, and you built anyway. People think legacy comes later. Wrong. Legacy happens mid pivot when you finish a chapter and post it before you're ready. Film a video with what you've got. Upload the project you swore needed one more polish. Help one other person build their thing because you know how lonely it is. Say the truth out loud, even if it's not clean or brandable. That's legacy, not the result. The courage to keep showing up in the dark with a match in your hand. For years, I've been stacking my fire, a droid book that predicts an economy we're just beginning to see, a manifesto for women over 40 who are done shrinking, a business model broker of opportunity for people who feel behind but aren't done, a body of work made from scraps, self funding, late nights, Craigslist clients, lost love, and endless drive. I'm not done, but I'm finally burning on purpose. And that's my legacy. So if you're reading this, you already know. You don't need permission. You need combustion. You've got everything you need: the ideas, the voice, the proof, the gut that tells you something I make will hit and it will matter. Legacy by fire means you don't let your work go quietly. You finish what you can. You drop the mic when it's time, and you let the world remember you by the heat you left behind. Chapter 9. To the other builders, if you're reading this and nodding, I see you. You're the one whose mind is always 10 miles ahead of your mouth. The one who can't sit still because your next idea won't let you. The one who's edited film while grieving, launched offers while broke. The one who writes books on lunch breaks, designs logos between clients, and dreams of your best work while pretending to sleep next to someone who will never understand it. You've been called distracted, intense, obsessive, unstable, always starting something. They don't realize that starting things is how you stay alive. You've pivoted more times than you can count, and not once did you pivot because you were lost. You pivoted because you were awake. You saw the door before others knew it was there. You felt the energy shift in a room before the lights even flickered. That's the cost of being a builder. You see patterns before they have names. You chase timing like other people chase peace. You never fit in because you were born to stand forward. You failed more than some people have tried. You've launched without a team. You've stayed up past exhaustion. You've pushed through doubt. You've kept going even when the only feedback was silence. And yet, you still believe in the work, in the next one, in the possibility that something you finish will finally be the thing. That belief, that madness, that's not weakness. It's your blueprint. So to the ones who build, keep pivoting, keep starting, keep launching messy, keep circling back to the script, the book, the brand, the truth that won't leave your gut. You don't need more focus. You need more faith. You need more fire around you, more builders like you who get what it means to be tired, inspired, and not done yet. If they call you scattered, let them. If they say, you're always doing something, smile. Because that something is your legacy, piece by piece, loop by loop, pivot by pivot. You're not broken. You're just wired to build. And no, The world won't always reward that. But when it finally catches up to you, they'll say it was sudden. They'll say you were lucky. They'll say you came out of nowhere. But we'll know the truth. You didn't come out of nowhere. You came out of the fire and you built your way here. Before we talk legacy, we've got to talk endurance. The kind that isn't pretty. The kind that has nothing to prove. The kind that just won't quit no matter what. Chapter 10, Never Giving Up. They think not giving up looks like motivation, like morning routines and vision boards and a "you got this" smile. But let me tell you what it actually looks like. It looks like checking your account and thinking, I should be further by now. It looks like rewriting the same sentence 3 times because you don't believe it yet. It looks like watching someone else blow up with half the talent and thinking, damn, am I invisible? It looks like launching anyway, again, without applause, without a safety net. Not giving up is ugly sometimes, but it's real. I've lived decades in the game, started when tech was dial up, stayed when everything went digital, taught myself what I wasn't taught, built what I couldn't buy. I filmed on green screens with no studio, made courses with no ad spend, launched books with no team, pitched ideas into silence, kept showing up even when the return was slow, scattered, or non existent. Because here's the truth: if you're wired to build, quitting is never really on the table. You might pause, but you don't disappear. You keep going even when the people closest to you don't understand. The bills are louder than the applause. Your best work is still sitting in a folder. Your platform has zero traction yet. You're scared this might be your last good idea. And still, you build. Because what else are you going to do? Give up and pretend you were never lit? Let me say it plain. I've had moments where it felt like it was over. When my bookkeeping work slowed down and I didn't feel like doing it anymore. That wasn't burnout. That was a signal. A whisper that said, you've outgrown this, but you're not done. So I pivoted again toward what felt honest, toward what felt me, toward the ideas that still kept me up at night. Broker of opportunity, AI tools, the book you're reading, the stories I need to tell before I leave this world. I didn't find motivation. I made a decision. This is who I am, and I don't quit on who I am. If you're reading this and you feel like you're running out of steam, you're not. You're just entering the next stretch. Every creator has to push through the quiet, the unpaid phase, the is this worth it season. That's where the real ones are born. The ones who don't give up, the ones who finish, the ones who look back 5 years from now and say, damn, I'm so glad I didn't quit. So, no, I'm not done. Not after all the miles I've put in, not after all the tools I've picked up, not after all the visions I've carried. I may be older, but I'm sharper, and I'm still building, still writing, still dreaming of a thing I haven't finished yet. Because I'm not here for easy wins, I'm here for the long game. We are wired to build, and we never ever give up. I tell people all the time I will die at my desk writing. Chapter 11, The Long Game. Some people are chasing likes. We're chasing legacy. Some people want a quick hit. We want to leave something that stays. That's the difference between hustling and building, between performance and purpose, between short game energy and long game faith. I didn't build everything I've built to go viral. I built it because I had something to say. I had a body of work trying to come through me, even if no one clapped, even if no one saw it yet. And I'm still building, not for tomorrow's hype, but for the people who find my work years from now and say, she didn't stop, she didn't wait, she didn't water herself down. That's the long game, creating not just for today, but for the people who will need you later. I think about that all the time. What if someone finds my film in 2035 and says, she saw this coming? What if someone reads or hears my book when they're 47 and stuck, and suddenly they move? What if the business I built now helps someone feed their family in 5 years? What if this truth I'm writing today becomes someone else's permission slip? That's the long game. It's not slow, it's timeless. And the long game isn't just about an audience, it's about you. It's about who you become when you don't quit, when you build things that don't pay you yet, but still matter, when you keep your name on something even when it's still rough, raw, and unpolished. The long game is about trusting that your best work may not be your next work, but it's still coming. You just have to stay alive to it, stay in the flow, stay in the practice, stay in the fire, because here's the truth. You're not winding down. You're just warming up in a different way. You've lived, you've earned your voice, you've made your mistakes and still stood back up. You've helped people, you've tried, you've shipped, you've created beauty from grief and brilliance from necessity. And now you've got a catalog, not of content, but of character. That's the long game. So when people ask, when will you be done? You already know the answer. When I die at my desk, not a moment before. Not because I have to keep working, but because I get to keep building. Because I'm wired for this, and I'm not here for likes. I'm here for legacy. About the author Steph Wynn. Steph Wynn is a storyteller, entrepreneur, survivor, and straight talk teacher. With over 25 plus books written on real life topics, from financial survival to personal growth, Steph writes for people who need truth, not trends. A lifelong learner, Steph didn't start out as a writer, but life had other plans. Through years of building businesses, working with clients, traveling the world, surviving setbacks, and overcoming debt, writing became a way to document wisdom for the next generation. Steph believes in keeping it real about money, mindset, mistakes, and moving forward. Her mission is simple: help people wake up, stay free, and live life on their own terms, with peace over payments, cash over clout, and freedom over flexing. If she has one wish, it's that her words will still be read 100 years from now. Steph lives in Los Angeles, California, still learning, still creating, still living life her way. You can hear books on www.amazon.com/author/Stefwin. Thank you for reading. Stay smart, stay free, stay you.